abayizi okusomera mu ddiro lyabwe olw'enteekateeka eno eriwo eyakuba nti abaana babagamba baddeyo ewaka. Tumaze okuva mu ssomo erya SST butereevu mukulu Kibuuka Kizito ate agenda kubanga atuwa essomo ly'Olungereza era ng'ava ku St. Savio Kisubi agenda kubanga atuwa essomero. Tegeeza omwana wo gwe atali waka ng'omuzadde ate n'omuzadde ali waka kubiriza omwana okusigala mu ddiiro tavaawo asobole okubanga afuna okusoma kuno. Banaffe abali mu P7 nga bwe nkutegeezezza n'abasiniya 4 tugenda kujja kusaawa erako ate n'abasiniya 6 nammwe kusaawa 9 paka saa 10 tujja kuba nammwe era nga tusoma ng'oli awo mu ddiiro ly'obutereevu. Kamba kwase Master Kibuuka atatutwale mu Lungereza.
Good morning, viewers. Let me introduce myself once again. Kibuuka Kizito Edwin, a practicing teacher at St. Savio Junior School, Kisubi. Munzikirize sooke neebaze Ssaabasajja Kabaka wa Buganda olw'enteekateeka eno. And in addition to that, I will thank the management of BBS Telefania for really making sure that it implements all that the Kabaka decides. Dear candidates, we are here. We thank our dear Kabaka who has enabled us to reach you through the media. Before you went home, you had, first time is supposed to have 3 topics: holiday activities, stroke plans, letter writing, and examinations. And I believe before you went home, some of you must have covered part of letter writing, and possibly we're about to start examinations. But this morning, I want us to go through letter writing as the second topic that we're supposed to cover in first term. So I am taking you through letter writing. Letter writing. Letter writing. Dear candidates who are home, we write letters for very many reasons. But this time I want to look at letters that will first of all help us go through life, and then that will help us earn marks at the end of the year. We started this topic, letter writing, in P5 second term, if you can recall, because we did writing, we learned how to write letters in P5 second term, and by that time we were doing a given type of letters. Maybe what I'll start with, we have types of letters. Types of letters. Types of letters. Now we have 2 types of letters. We have the formal letter. Let me start with the informal. We have the informal letters, and we have the formal letters. We have the informal letters and the formal letters. When we're in P5 second term, we did enough of informal letters, and these are the letters that we basically write to the people we know, our relatives, our friends, the people we know. And those are the letters we wrote in when we were still in P5. So today, I may not go a lot into informal letters. Today, I'm going to spend some good time teaching how to write formal letters. These 2 have got other types. Formal letters, we can call them friendly letters. We can call them friendly letters. Then formal letters can be called official letters, can be called business letters, but they are all letters. I am going to use my name to show you how different these letters may be. Kibuuka Kizito Edwin. Now, candidates, when you're writing to me as Edwin, maybe because of my age, could be Uncle Edwin. You are going to write to me using an informal letter because you're writing to me as a person. When you're writing to me as Chibuka, we shall see how Chibuka may be informal and may be formal. But in most cases, when we're writing informal letters, we use our first names. Now, where I work, I'm the class teacher of P5A. The moment you're writing to me as the class teacher of P5A, then I'm ceasing to be a person. Now I'm becoming an officer. An officer as the class teacher. So we shall run away from the informal letter and then use the formal letter. Because now you are no longer writing to me as a person, but you're writing to me as an officer. So what am I driving at? I'm saying that formal letters are used to write to officers. Your dad may be your dad, and possibly the head teacher of a given school. Now, as you're writing to your dad as the head teacher of that school, you are going to write to him as an officer. Therefore, you have to use a formal letter. You don't use an informal letter. So this is where I want us to be very clear that the letters we have been writing, ever since we were in P4, those were informal letters. Now we need to learn how to write formal letters so that we can learn to write to officers, not persons. So that's what, and that is the second topic in our P7. When we are writing these letters, there are two ways of writing. Ways of writing. On a sheet of paper, I'm sure you must have seen people writing letters and all the words are starting from the margin. Any sentence the writer writes starts from the margin. Now, that is the one that we call the block way of writing. Ways of writing, that's what we call the block way of writing. The moment you write these letters and everything, I'm going to show you. I came with a sample letter and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. The moment everything starts from the margin, now that is the block way. And actually, it is kind of the modern way now. People are now writing using the block way. Now, the other kind of type of way of writing is the indented. Indented. We have the indented. And you're going to realize that many of the books we have, many of the textbooks we have about back home, some of them have got the indented way of writing. Now, the indented way of writing, before you start a paragraph, the one I will show you, you leave some space from the margin. Now, these are the two ways of writing these letters. Now, these days, many of us are going into to use the block way just because of this modern age of the computer world. Otherwise, both ways are correct. The problem is mixing them up. That's where the problem can be. Otherwise, if you write your letter block way from the beginning to the end, use the block way. If you write your letter the indented way from the beginning to the end, use the indented way. Now, when I was starting, I told you I may not go into the informal letters because we did enough of that in our primary 5. So I'm going to go quickly to the formal way. And the moment you are writing a letter, I am going to put the steps here that in case you realize that you've missed any step, then you are losing out. Then you're losing out. Now, when you're told to write a formal letter, remember you are writing to an officer. I use my names, and I told you Chibuka Edwin is the person. And I'm the class teacher of P5A where I teach. So when you're writing to me as Chibuka Edwin, you are going to use the informal letter. But now when you're writing to me as the class teacher, P5A, then you're going to use the formal letter. I said I'm not going to go into this. Let me take you through the steps of writing a good formal letter. 1, we expect steps of writing a formal letter. Call it business letter, call it official letter. What is the first step that we expect? We expect the writer's address. We expect the writer's address. We expect the writer's address. Now, the writer's address is your address. You, a candidate who is home, as we talk now, your address is your school address, as we talk now, because all these other addresses are for your parents. So your address is the school. Your school where you go to school is your writer's address. After the writer's address, I expect the date. I expect the date. The moment you put the date, then that will be a very good letter. Don't worry, I'm going to show you a sample later. You see what I'm talking about. After the date, I expect the receiver's address. The receiver's address. The receiver's address. You may wish during this recess, for example, to come and do some work at BBS Terifayina, then receiver's address could be the manager, BBS Terifayina, PO Box, that is the writer's address. Now, after the writer's address, remember when you are looking at the informal letters, you only had one address. Now the difference is you are adding another address. You are using only the writer's address. Now when we come formal, you are adding the receiver's address. Now after the receiver's address, I expect the salutation. Salutation is kind of a greeting. When you're writing informal letters, you would say, dear Uncle Edwin, dear Daddy. Now this salutation with the formal letters changes. I am going to show you how it changes. From the salutation, now we expect a reason. A reason. I'm calling it a reason, and I'll explain to you why I'm calling it a reason. I've not called it a reference, remember. I've called it a reason. After the reason, this time we go to the body. Remember when you're writing the informal letter, you had things here like introduction, body, and conclusion. This time, after the reason, I have straight gone to the body. I'll explain to you that when I'm using the sample writing. The sample letter I've written. After the body, now we come to the conclusion. Conclusion. This is our official letter, business letter, formal letter, conclusion. From the conclusion, I expect the ending. I expect the ending. I'm going to throw more light on each of these as I show you the sample letter that I brought. Ending. After the ending, I'll expect the signature. The signature. The signature. Then after the signature, I'll expect your name in block letters. Your name in block letters. And lastly, title. Lastly, title. Lastly, title. Now, actually, those I talk to in most cases, I normally tell them that in case a teacher tells you to write a letter, and in case you are examined and in the examination there is letter writing, this is a fertile number. What do I call it fertile number? This is an area that has got free marks. And if I can add on, actually it is only English where a candidate is allowed to tell a lie and then he gets marks. Or she gets, I'm sorry using he because of the setting of where I work. The candidate gets marks. Because whatever is here is free marks. Actually, if you are told to write an official letter, the most important thing is for you to read the instructions, because you are going to deal with the instructions the moment you come to the body. Otherwise, everything is almost given to you. So you are going to use the instructions. As long as you follow the instructions very well, then you are sure of writing a beautiful letter. A letter that will take you through the world, and a letter that will earn you marks. Writer's address, date, receiver's address, salutation. I'm going to show you the sample letter and you see what happens with salutation. Reason, not reference. Dear candidates, you'll meet something of this kind. You'll meet something of this kind. REF, and you'll also meet R. One will have a dot, the other one will not have. Please, let's ignore these. I'll show you that when I come to showing you the sample writing. So the sample letter that I've brought. So the moment you are able to list down these steps, then you are sure of writing a good letter. Which letter will be presented to any officer that will read it, and you say, yes, you need the job, you need to be forgiven, you need to be taken to the next class, you need to be forgiven for committing any crime. So, dear candidates who are home, letter writing, two types of letters, the way we can write them, and the steps. If you can have these steps so that you don't leave out any step, then you are sure of writing a good letter. I am going to show you a sample letter that I brought. And it has a question. We are going to go through this letter together. And at the end of it all, I'm also going to mark it so that you will know that the moment we teach you how to write letters, what are we interested in as teachers? So let me show you this. Let me first rub off, I think, so that when I pin up my sample letter, you are able to see very well. If I was in class, physical class, I would not be the one rubbing off. I would get the class monitor to do that. But now that I'm on the media, then I have to do everything myself. I've brought to you here a sample letter, which I want us to go through and then see some of the things that we may seriously be interested in as teachers. As teachers, may be interested in some of these things. You need to know them. You need to know them. We need to know them. This is somebody. We assume this is a candidate who wrote a sample official letter. So we are going to see, and I will show you what we do as teachers where our interest is. So that when you come to write these letters, the ones we call formal letters, you are able to write something sensible. Okay. And I'm going to throw more light on a few things basing on this sample. Wonderful. So, this is our official letter. I've just taken you through the steps. Writer's address, date, receiver's address, salutation, reason. This is our body. Actually, the body goes up to down here. Then, this is our ending. Signature, name in block letters, and title. Let me first talk about a few things here. As I told you, English is the subject that allows a candidate to tell lies. I'm sorry, before God, tell lies and he gets marks. We shall be given many questions. Sometimes we may be told to imagine you are the head prefect. I've met a candidate who says, for me, I've never been a head prefect. And then loses 10 marks just because he can't imagine he is a head prefect. Just imagine you are a games prefect. Because the fact that you are a games prefect, you are now imagining to be a games prefect. And we expect your title here after writing. But let me take you through the question. Your name is Joseph Chibirigo of Primary 7. You are a pupil at Malere Primary School, P.O. Box 98, Mate. Using your school address, write a letter to your class teacher apologizing for missing morning preps. Give him the reason for missing morning preps. Promise him not to repeat that mistake. These are our instructions. And because, as I told you, I used my name, Chibuka Chizito Edwin, you are not writing to Chibuka Chizito Edwin, but you are writing to the class teacher. So now you are writing to an officer. And because you are writing to an officer, therefore, you must go official. You must use a business letter. You must use a formal letter. So my candidate here, this is his address. Maile Primary School, comma, P.O. Box 98, comma, Mate, full stop. Let me explain to you this as now I'm a teacher who has got such a letter. When somebody does something of this kind, I have no problem with giving this person half a mark. Yeah, candidates, it may be rare to find ticks when you write letters. We shall always award that way. So you give me that very good address, I'll give you half a mark. Now, you have not even answered the question, but you have copied what is here and you've put it here in an organized way. You've made the address, you have a mark. And then you think that writing is difficult? No. Date. Remember, I talked of the block type. So with the block type, you skip a line after each step. You skip a line. Indented, this address will be the other side and it will be slanting. But as I said, this is a topic that takes almost 2 weeks. But now I'm doing it. They have given me about 40 minutes. So when you see me not emphasizing a few things, we shall do that later. So the date. Now, this date I wrote here is the date in the dictionary. The date in the dictionary doesn't have any punctuation. Those ones I normally teach. I tell them, don't create a debate between the teachers. Can we mark this? Can we? No, don't. So I've now brought the date. There are many ways of writing the date. But I've brought the date, which is in the dictionary. Sometimes you may wish to add the day, so you can go Tuesday, 24th March 2020. So, the moment you give me a date of that kind, there is no reason why I don't give you half a mark. Now, are you aware that you already have 1 mark before even answering the question? Letter writing is something very easy. The next step was receiver's address. The class teacher, primary 7, Maire Primary School, P.O. Box that matter. Beautiful. Beautiful. Our Chibirigo is writing to his class teacher, and this is his address. Yeah, some may say, but why don't we stop at primary 7 and then we don't continue? It could be a class teacher of another school. So we need to complete the address so that it is specific that the class teacher of primary 7 in that school. You give me that kind of address, I give you half a mark. I'll give you half a mark. You already have one mark and a half, but you've not answered the question. Letter writing is very easy. I said salutation. Remember I told you when you were writing informal letters, dear Uncle Edwin, dear. Here we have dear sir. Oh, madam. Now I did put the madam here because of a reason I'm going to tell you. Normally we teachers, as we set letters for you, we must put a word that will help you to find out whether it's a sir or a madam. Those of you who look at the instructions, somewhere here we have him. And because of this him, the moment you tell me dear sir or madam, don't expect any mark. We have this pronoun here, which shows us very clearly that the officer we're writing it to is a man. So, dear sir, you do it that way, I give you half mark. Those are 2 marks now. You've not yet answered the question. Letter writing. Letter writing is the candidates. Now we go to the reason. I told you reason because these two, one may have a dot, then the other one may not have. These 2 mean something else. One is a referee, those of you who are very good at watching football. Abbreviation of referee. Then the other one is refer. Refer. Still it's in documents. But you know, your head teacher may write a circular stopping parents from visiting the school, but he may refer to maybe the circular that the Ministry of Education may have released. So that's when you use that. So in letter writing, small e. You miss this small e, don't expect me to give you any mark. R, small e. Now, of course, you read it through, and the essence of this candidate writing this letter is apologizing. Now, reference apology. Apology may work. You may, my page was not very big, but you may add a few words as long as the words are brief. Officers who read these letters don't have time. Actually, some of them may even just read the reason and may not go into all of this. So, you must, with the formal letters, we are as brief as possible. So, the moment I read apology, and I'm the teacher, definitely I know that this person is apologizing. Now, there's something we must avoid here. We must use a noun, not a verb. Meaning, I don't expect ing here. Apologizing, requesting, thanking. Requests. Thankful. Apology. Mention. You add ing, a gerund, you are not going to get a mark. Yeah, let me see if you wrote something similar to that. In case I gave you half a mark, I'll revisit in case I need 2. Now we already have 1, 2.5 marks. My dear candidates, it is here in the body that we are supposed to answer the question. A serious candidate will read through and then Underline the keywords. Note using school address. Write a letter to your class teacher apologizing. Now, underline that. That's the keyword. For missing preps, give him reason. Underline it. For missing morning preps, promise. That's what a sharp candidate does. Because me as a teacher, I expect these words in your letter. When you use other words, I may be lenient, but I expect. That's when I will know that my candidate followed instructions. Let me see what this young man wrote. I am writing apologizing. I give him, because he has used the word I want, for missing morning preps. They told him, give him the reason for. I missed the morning. I missed because I was washing my, this candidate forgot the S, but I think it was because of the space. My bed sheets, which I didn't wash the other day. Of course, we all know that because it's the one that brings out the reason. So, if they were told reason, then I'll put here a mark. My candidate is good. I was washing my, I promise not to repeat the mistake. My candidate is promising. Now, this is the body. We expect you to answer the question in the body. Let me count and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Okay? After the body, I think I said conclusion. That's what I said after the body. Now, I look forward to your positive response. You know, this conclusion will not be the same in all letters. Of course, if you are applying for a letter, the conclusion may not be this. The conclusion always depends on what is in the body. Now, this candidate really makes a statement that even if you are very tough, and then the candidate tells you, I look forward to your positive response, somehow you cool down and say, I think this young man or girl needs to be forgiven. So now, I am giving the conclusion half a mark. Then I said, ending. Now let me talk about faithfully. In official letters, when you are dealing with informal letters, you had so many words you used to use here. Use love, use affectionate, use so many. Block letters, official letters, use only 2 words. Use faithfully, sincerely. These are the words that we use here. But let me throw more light. When do we use faithfully? And when do we use sincerely? Now look at my letter. If you use the dear sir, dear madam, then we expect yours faithfully. I told you when I was starting, there was where I brought a name Chibuka, and I told you it can be both friendly and formal. Now, if you used dear Mr. Chibuka, then I expect yours sincerely. So what I'm saying that in sincerely goes with your name, with the salutation. Faithfully goes with sir or madam. The teacher may not be very tough on that, but these are things that in the world you write a letter and then somebody looks at it and says, now who taught you? So at least if you were to mention me as one of the people who taught you letter writing, please take note of that. Now this is the ending. Now we are talking of signature is the next step. Dear candidates, at your level, you've not yet started this. You are still young. At your level, this is your signature. your name in small letters. Don't scribble. At your level, become organized. I know nobody may, but at your level, let's be organized. This is your signature. Your name in small letters. After that, the second last step is your name in capital letters. You put it there very well. And then lastly, title. Now this is your title, you're a candidate. Sometimes we may tell you, you write as the class monitor. We expect a title there. Chiburugo Joseph, class monitor. We may tell you, write as a games prefect. We expect your title here. Now, I'm awarding. I will give you, if you did this very well, I will give you a half here. If you gave me the signature very well, I am still going to give you a half. If you did the name in block letters very well, I am still giving you a half. And if you gave me your title very well, I am still giving you a half. Now we are going to count and see. I have 1, I have 2, then 3, 4, 5, then 6 with this half, then 7, and then 8. So you have 8 marks after writing your letter very well. Dear candidates, I don't know whether there is anything difficult here. That's why we sometimes call it a fertile number. Now, where are the other 2 to make 10 out of 10? Where are the other 2? So that you can get, if you write a very good letter, you get your 10 out of 10. There's what we call language mechanics. There's what we call language mechanics. There's what we call language mechanics. And those 2 are going to come from language mechanics. So that you write a letter and the teacher looks at it and says, yes, he has written a letter. Now the first one is type. Type. Of course, when you are given instructions, a candidate must know, which type am I writing? Am I writing an official letter or an informal letter? Now we shall look at it and say, now this one has written. Of course, there are characteristics of informal letters and informal letters. The moment we see one address, that is already an informal letter. But we expected 2 addresses. But the most important is 1. Now we learn it today. How do you know that I should go in for an official letter? The moment you realize that the instructions are telling you to write to an officer. I repeat the example I gave you. Chiburuka Kizito Edwin is different from the class teacher P5A. Chiburuka Kizito Edwin is the person. The officer is the class teacher. Now, the moment you are taught to write to an officer, the manager, I'm sorry, but this TV must have a manager. But the name of the manager is different from the officer. Actually, the moment I've told you those ones that I normally talk to, the moment you're writing an official letter and you address it to Mr. Chiburuka, even if I'm not there, that letter will wait for me until I come back because you made it personal. But the moment you address it to the class teacher, if I'm not there, somebody will be there in the form of the class teacher. Therefore, your letter will be opened and you will be helped. Let us learn some of these things. So, type, we shall say, has he written a formal letter? No, I think he has followed the instruction because he was told to write to the class teacher. This one is an officer. And because he has written the letter that we want, I will give you half a mark. That's 8.5 now. Then I will say, as a teacher, I will say, has my candidate showed me anything like paragraphs? Anything like paragraphs? With official letters, of course, with the block type, you skip a line whenever you are dealing with the paragraph. Now you can see there's a paragraph. He has skipped a line here. They have skipped a line, skipped a line, skipped a line. Yeah, I think I see some paragraphs. So I'll give you half a mark for the paragraphs. Then the next one, I'll look at the punctuation marks. The punctuation marks. Punctuation marks. Punctuation marks. Yeah. There are some of us who write and you won't see any comma anywhere. You won't see any full stop anywhere. You won't see any question mark anywhere. If you miss them, then I'm not going to give you a mark. But if you put them there, then you win yourself a mark. And then lastly, the spellings. I'll look at how you have handled. When I look at your letter and I realize that, okay, the spellings you are not very badly off, I'll give you another half a mark. In the interest of time, please, I was given a few minutes. When you add these 2 and 8, you'll get 10 out of 10. And that is will be a very good letter that we teachers want. Thank you very much for listening. I am online. Those of you who wish to get me, this is my email. So if you can put it down and email me, then you can be able to get me online. Then we discuss more. Edwin Chibuka, 1972@gmail.com. I really once again thank the Kabaka of Uganda for this opportunity to talk to the candidate class through this media, and thank the management, BBS Telefina, for giving us this, for implementing what the Kabaka wants. Thank you very much. Good day.
Weewaawo tuwenze nnyo tuyanzeege Master Kibuuka ava Kisubi Savio era atuwadde essomo eddungi ennyo naddala ly'Olungereza. Nkakasa nti buli omu kati amanyi okuwandiika ebbaluwa eri official oba ebbaluwa entongole, era emitendera gyonna gy'olina okuyitamu okusobola okuwandiika obulungi agikunnyonnyodde bulungi. Genda mu kiraasi eya physics, essomo lya physics. Tulina omusomesa okuva